Hello, my name is Rain and welcome to my channel where it's Fantasy Formula 1. We're wearing the Piastri hoodie today because Piastri seemingly can't stop winning. And in this video, we're going to discuss Miami, what happened in Miami, and how that impacts my team and your teams heading into Imola, Monaco, and the entire European circuit. And let me tell you, a lot of what happened in Miami will impact my decision-making for Imola. We had a lot of grandiose plans about limitlessing in a single race weekend, but after the carnage that was the Miami Grand Prix, I'm not so sure anymore. But before we head into the discussion portion of this video, I just want to ask you to please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know it's really annoying to hear YouTubers ask that all the time, but it actually makes like a lot of difference for the algorithm and, you know, just for the channel in general, and it's the best way to support. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. We're trying to chase that 5k, and yeah, like the video as well. Let's get right into discussing what happened in Miami. So this was my Miami team. I ended up making one transfer, and also, if you weren't here for the deadline stream, I ended up activating the no negative chip, and that no negative chip definitely came in handy. We were watching they were preparing for the sprint race, right? Because the deadline was before the sprint. And Charles Leclerc hit the wall heading up to the formation lap, or heading up to the grid, not even the formation lap, on his way to the grid. And I mean, that made us all panic, really. The rain looked way worse than it was. And I mean, rain in a sprint race, that is what I've been saying that no negative should be used for this entire time. I know I was planning on using it in Spa or in Brazil, because those are also rain races that are sprint weekends, but I mean, rain in Miami, we've never seen that before. I was expecting carnage, and we did get carnage. Not as much in the main race as we would have hoped, maybe, but there was still a lot of DNFs, and a lot of DNFs to those B tiers, to those cheaper assets that a lot of people have. I mean, not that many people have Lance Stroll, and he was the best performing cheap driver on the grid. Albon, a bit too expensive for a lot of our teams. He's not in most of our teams anymore. Hulkenberg did decently. Everyone has moved away from him. And then Ocon also was like the one commonly owned asset that actually performed somewhat well. But because of my no negative, I obviously saved a lot of points. And I've also put that into the graphic here. As you can see, saved 6 points on Mercedes, 20 points on Alonso for his DNF, 20 points on Behrman for his DNF, 3 points on Ocon, and 1 point on Isaac Hadjar. So overall, a really good no negative. After the sprint race, it looked really bad for those of you who went with Limitless, and my tip of the week was to not use the Limitless, partly because of the rain, but also because I just didn't think the sprint qualifying looked that good. And I will say I was correct about that, right? The sprint was awful for Limitless users. Hamilton was like the best scoring driver, and no one had Hamilton on their Limitless. If you did have Hamilton on your Limitless, please let me know in the comments, because I've not seen a single person do that yet. Limitless users did get partially saved by all of the penalties that applied after the sprint race. I mean, if Behrman had gotten his P8 or P7 or whatever it would have been, that would have been really, really bad. And the reason it would have been bad is because if you're on a Limitless, you don't have Behrman in your team, and everyone else that's not on Limitless had Behrman in their teams. So Behrman's high score in the sprint, which he still got a really good sprint score despite the penalty that he got. If he had not gotten that penalty, it would have been even worse. But then Limitless users did get saved by the main race, since all of the assets that they don't have, that a lot of us do have, ended up DNFing. Alonso obviously got the DNF in the sprint race, but Behrman DNF'd in the main race, Bortoleto DNF'd in the main race, Lawson DNF'd in the main race, Doohan DNF'd in the main race. So we had a lot of DNFs on those cheaper assets that are actually in people's teams, right? It wasn't like a Albon DNF or a Stroll DNF, you know? It was Hulkenberg. It was actually the assets that people own. And for that reason, the Limitless ended up being pretty decent, right? Especially against those who didn't use no negative. I think the Limitless users, normally we separated by, okay, Limitless users and those who don't use a chip, right? And we calculate the delta between those two teams to see if the Limitless was optimal. And because of all the DNFs, and a lot of people are on at least 2, right? 1 guaranteed, because, I mean, everyone has Behrman, right? So a lot of people are on 1, maybe even 2 DNFs. And in those cases, in those instances, the Limitless actually is like above average, actually really, really good Limitless. It's just that compared to those of us who went for no negative, the Limitless users did lose out. I want to make that clear if you did Limitless in the end, that the delta between you and me who ended up using the no negative, and a lot of people who did use no negative, wasn't as strong because we negated the effects of all of those DNFs. Follow-up to all of those DNFs is that the budget increase system is all out of whack again. We have a lot of assets now with negative scores or really low scores in round 6 in Miami. That's going to carry on over the next couple of races where we are not expecting the cheap drivers to score that well, right? We have Imola, we have Monaco. Those are 2 tracks with very few overtaking opportunities. I mean, Monaco is next to none, right? So because of that, we're expecting our cheap drivers to score less over the next few races, meaning that if you already go into those 2 races with a negative score from Miami, I mean, we're going to see a lot of price decreases over the next 2 race weekends, 3 even, maybe even 4, until we've gotten Monaco out of rotation. So we have to prepare for that. We have to play around that, and playing around that is going to be the main issue. I know I know I've spoken a lot about Limitless in Imola, Limitless in Monaco as a potential opportunity to have that large Limitless delta that we've talked about so much this season. And in addition to having a good Limitless delta, we also want to gain budget in the back, like from our teams. And I mean, with this team, it's not looking great, right? Sure, maybe I can get a good Limitless delta in Imola, but majority of my assets are going to decrease in price. So it feels like a bit of a waste when I could instead like set up my team in Imola and then hope it goes well in Imola and then maybe Limitless in Monaco, or just completely abandon that idea altogether and look towards the Limitless in Hungary after Spa. So we'll see what I end up doing. But first, let me just show you what I mean by the budget being completely out of whack. So here is the budget building site. By the way, if you want F1 Fantasy Premium, you can get it at a reduced price by using my code, link in the description. And I mean, Piastri again keeps being the most must-have asset of all time. McLaren keeps being the most must-have asset of all time. Minus 89 points for a point. For a plus 0.3 increase is I definitely messed up the price increase system when it comes to the constructors, because I mean McLaren is just never going to stop increasing 0.3 million every race. But the one thing we're the most interested in are these tier B drivers, 19 million or below. And as you can see, Stroll with his 25-point haul feels like the must-get this weekend. And the reason for that is because this 25-point is going to stay with him, right? He could increase in price in the next race, and then, you know, as long as he doesn't get a DNF, that 25-pointer is gonna carry through both in Imola and in Monaco. So definitely interested in him. Albon with a 19-pointer. Very difficult to fit into teams at 12.8 million, but I do think if you are one of those people with a really, really, really high budget, right? If your budget is, you know, 115 million almost, you should start looking to ways to get Albon in, because Albon, if you look at Albon's actual points that he has scored throughout the season, I mean, he is really Mr. Consistent. If you could have a B-tier driver scoring 17, 11, 8, 15, 10, 19 points and then keep that streak going throughout the season, he's going to be a really, really good asset to own. And I think a lot of our budget building efforts before we can start building it with 2 premium drivers, right, because we have Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes, whatever, is going to be fitting Alex Albon into our teams. I think points-wise, he shows, you know, what he's there for. He doesn't increase that much in price because he's actually priced correctly now according to the algorithm. But he's still increasing 0.2, and he definitely has an opportunity to increase 0.3 in Imola if he gets another point scoring finish. But with that said, now Lance Stroll feels like the must asset to buy, despite the Aston Martin being an absolute dustbin. But it just feels like he's the only driver that looks likely to increase by now. Behrman, the GOAT of price increases, is going to drop in price now. He increased in price despite getting minus 4 points, but that was obviously because his round 4 score was so high. That round 4 score is now gone, and he's on a 1-point score over round 5 and round 6 combined, meaning that he's very likely to decrease in price, meaning that it's probably time to get rid of him, cash in on all the budget we've gotten from him. And I do think there is a lot of merit to buying those 4.5 million assets now, Duan and Bortoleto, just because they're not going to decrease in price. It's going to be very, very difficult to, especially if you want Albon, especially if you want to get Sainz, if Sainz looks good. I mean, Sainz would have been really, really good if he had not DNF'd in the sprint with the 12-pointer in round 5, and then obviously had a really, really good score in the main race as well, completely offsetting the DNF that he had in the sprint. But it still doesn't look great for Sainz with price increases, but I do think Sainz, once he actually can string 2 good race weekends together without DNFing, Sainz is going to be one we want in our teams. Ocon is the one who were on a lot of people's teams who actually did perform decently well. I mean, not a massive haul by any means, but he's not due for a 0.6 drop at least, right? We're expecting, that he maybe decreases 0.2, maybe has a chance of increasing 0.2, but even then, 13 points for a 0.2 million increase is not someone you buy to get budget. It's just that if you have him, it could be fine owning him, right? And then Hadjar, again, 0-pointer here. Looks decent for a price increase. 7 points is definitely doable, but he was really nowhere in terms of pace and really points at all this weekend, ending up at a 0-pointer, +1, -1. There was really nothing on his sheet at all. So 7-pointer definitely possible. Hulkenberg on a 5-pointer is also interesting for 6 million. So these are the sort of assets that I think we should be buying. Stroll, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, and then it's Bortoleto and Duan who are immune to price decreases at this point. And if we go back to my team, I've already, messed around with it a bit here, but with Alonso and Behrman in here, these two are the ones I want to get rid of. Let's just move that over there so it's better centered. I don't know why it wasn't before. That's okay. Technical difficulties. I'm not gonna re-record this. Alonso's gotta go. Behrman, I think, has got to go as well. Again, look at the budget. Behrman, nowhere near. Alonso, nowhere near. 22 points, 23 points. They're not reaching that. I don't want them in my teams anymore. I do think Behrman is good for points overall throughout the season. But I'm super fine with him dropping in price 2 times, and then I'll buy him back and gain the budget with him again after Monaco. For now, though, I think Ocon could go as well. Again, we did speak about him being on a 13-pointer to increase 0.2 million price, and I do have 3 transfers, so I could do like a full switcheroo of my cheap drivers. But main asset I want to get in right now, I don't have the budget to go for someone like an Alex Albon. I mean, that's just not going to work. I could do it with something like this, and then Jack Doohan, right? But am I super interested in? I could do this, right? Get Nico Hulkenberg in there, who looks decent for price increases. Get Albon for his points, realistically, which I think is not bad. I think definitely if you're going for not Limitless in either Imola or Monaco, like say you used your Limitless in Miami, I think going for something like this could be really strong with Albon actually being someone who can finish like P5, P6, P7 on tracks with difficult to overtakes, because the pace in the Williams is actually there. So I think there's merit in going for Albon here. If you're going for budget building, though, it feels weird to not go without Lance Stroll. So you could also go for Lance Stroll in here, and then you could kind of keep you can kind of keep Esteban Ocon in there if you want. I think these are the sort of 2 routes I could go. I think the two transfers I am making this week will be Alonso and Behrman. I am guaranteed not popping Limitless, by the way. There's no way I'm popping Limitless with this team. And I basically just have to decide, do I want Alex Albon or do I want Lance Stroll? Because I can't afford both. I cannot do this, right? I don't have the money for it. If you have the money to get both Albon and Stroll alongside a Hadjar, or maybe even like Jack Doohan and Gabriel Bortoleto in there, I think it's worth a shout, right? Especially if you already held Gabriel Bortoleto and you don't have to take a points hit for it. I wouldn't do it for a points hit, but I do think like Albon plus Stroll could be really, really powerful. Not for me though. I have to pick one or the other. If it's points, I'm going for Albon. If it's budget, I'm going for Stroll. Still haven't decided which way I'm leaning, but I'm definitely transferring out Behrman and Alonso, and very likely one of them is going to be Bortoleto. I just prefer Bortoleto over Jack Doohan. I think Jack Doohan is showing some pace. He can get to Q2, but I don't think that's particularly good, and his race pace is really not there. He is making some mistakes. in the race, which has led to his DNF so far this season, right? With Jack Doohan, right, if he qualifies P12, that's not what you want. You want Bortoleto, who can qualify in P18, P19, and then potentially climb from there. So I much prefer Bortoleto to Jack Doohan. And then alongside him, it's just whether I go for Esteban Ocon. And alongside him, it's just whether I go for Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll, or if I sell Ocon to afford a switch to Alex Albon. And the specific move with Alex Albon makes a lot of sense if I'm not planning on limitlessing, right? I just go for points, get the points from Albon in Imola and in Monaco, where, you know, overtaking is difficult. You kind of need someone to finish in the points to actually get F1 fantasy points. And then I sort of lock in the limitless for Hungary, when, you know, Hungary looks good for Delta anyway. And by that point, if my budget is not perfect in terms of, you know, my budget in the back and limitlessing, it's kind of okay because it's later on in the season, so budget is not as important anymore. You know, I could already be ahead or I could already be behind. It's kind of whatever. So those are kind of my options. If I were to go for Alex Albon, it would be Nico Hülkenberg in there, so I would rock the double Sauber. But, you know, what can you do? You got to do what you got to do sometimes. Piastri's not going anywhere. Hadjar's not going anywhere. McLaren and Mercedes are not going anywhere. I did do a little experiment, and I will bring that up. So I went to the live scoring, and I decided to make a custom team. As you can see, manual team over here, M1. To just piece it together, because I feel like the McLaren drivers are outscoring everyone all the time. But it's still optimal to have Mercedes in there. It's not optimal to go for Piastri Norris and like I just clicked Haas in there, but you know it could be anyone else realistically, but you would have to get it right with the Haas. As for the McLaren Mercedes is going to continue being really good. One thing speaking for keeping Ocon and Lance Stroll and not going for the Alex Albon move, and I do think this is important, is if we go back to the budget builder, one driver with a really, really good score in Miami who's not due for an increase is Pierre Gasly. He got an 18-pointer in Miami, which is a really, really good score, but obviously his DNF from round 5 is holding him back. But once that's gone after Imola, so going into Monaco, Gasly could be really good. He's looking due a price decrease. It could be another 0.6 decrease for him, which would put him at 7.6 million, which I feel like is a bargain for someone like a Gasly. So for me, if I'm going without Alex Albon and I have, again, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon in here, I could rock this in Imola, and then depending on who looks better for budget increases in Monaco, I could sell either Stroll or Ocon for Pierre Gasly then, which I do think looks like a really, really strong move. If I had Albon in here, affording that could be more difficult. It would probably be to upgrade Nico Hülkenberg, which, again, if Gasly's at 7.6 million, it's not unreasonable that I could afford him. Maybe by downgrading Hadjar to Doohan and upgrading Nico Hülkenberg. That's how I could afford Albon plus Gasly. So, again, there are options, but in terms of transfers, this is how it's going to be for the rest of the season, at least until like the summer break. We need to look at our teams, assess who we need to get rid of based on what they did in the previous weekends. And it feels kind of backward. It feels like you're chasing points. And usually in like fantasy games, there's something we don't really recommend, right? Just because a driver or just because an asset in your fantasy team scored a lot of points in a previous weekend doesn't mean they're going to do that again. And I feel like in other fantasy sports, it's kind of like this noob trap, if you will, where people see that, oh, this person scored 20 points, let's get them in, even though they're actually not a good asset. They just kind of got lucky and the data doesn't really speak for them. That's kind of like the Lance Stroll here, but just the value of getting the almost guaranteed budget increases are just so strong, and that's why, I mean, we're considering Lance Stroll again, despite him being at 9.7 million and being so much more expensive than his teammate Fernando Alonso, who just can't seem to finish a race recently. So let me know, would you go for the Lance Stroll Ocon build or the Alex Albon plus Nico Hülkenberg build? I think Bortoleto is going into my team regardless. I regret selling him, but I mean, what can I do? I wanted the price increase for Alonso. I got punished by 0.6 million price drop, and there's not much to it. At least both Bortoleto and Alonso DNF'd, I guess. So those who kept Bortoleto and didn't know negative took a points hit. But it's rough sometimes in F1 fantasy, and we're gonna keep playing the budget game for a bit. So again, let me know down below. Do you think I should go for the Lance Stroll Ocon or the Alex Albon Hulkenberg variant of my team? And if you are still considering limitlessing in Imola, let me know that too, because I would be really interested to hear if someone's like, no, I just want to go for the limitless Delta points. I don't care about budget anymore. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you haven't liked the video, please do so now. I know it's annoying, but I will see you in the next one. We'll have more videos out this week and next week leading up to the triple header of Imola, Monaco, and Barcelona. Lots of content. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.